Someone asked how to set up a polyrhythmic patch, and polyrhythms shouldn't be confused with polymeters, where polymeters are, like several patterns that have the same tempo but a different length. Very simplistic way to look at polyrhythms is that they have the same length but not the same tempo. And I think the easiest way to set up a polyrhythm is just using clock dividers. So here on the scope you can see the gate I'm using to gate this sound. And this is actually a divide by 3. And then there's the bottom signal here, which is a divide by 2. And when we play this together, this is a polyrhythm. And I think we could see this as a 2 against 3, where the divide by 3, it's really confusing. The divide by 3 generates 2 gates at the same time that the divide by 2 generates 3 gates. So when I mask a little part of this, you can see that there's 3 gates on the divide by 2, which is the red trace, and there's 2 gates on the divide by 3, which is the green trace. And this isn't exactly the answer that Geerhoor was looking for, but I think this is really the easiest way to set up a polyrhythmic patch. Now I have an additional sound here, which is a divide by 5. And if we add a kick drum to this and a shaker, I think this is a really nice sounding polyrhythmic patch. Geerhoor actually asked how to create polyrhythms with contour 1, which is an envelope or function generator. I actually don't have contour 1, but I do have a delta V or 2. And you can use these function generators as clock dividers. So I'll just melt the divide by 2 here, which is the red trace, into my function generator, and let me try to create a divide by 3. And by setting the attack and decay parameters, or attack and release, depending on how you look at it, just right, you can create divisions. And I'm actually using the end of cycle output of my function generator to open the low pass gate. The reason we're not seeing the end of cycle trigger is because it's a really short signal, really short trigger, and it's just too short to show up on the scope at these settings. And at least I think I've created a divide by 3 here, because for every 3 red pulses there's 1 yellow envelope, so there's also 1 end of cycle trigger. So you can use function generators to divide your clock. Just send something into the trigger input. And I've noticed that on a lot of function generators, the envelope isn't actually being re-triggered when the function is still in the attack stage. So what this means is that on this trigger, the function generator is starting its cycle, then the next trigger doesn't do anything because the function is still rising. The next one doesn't do anything either. And then apparently the function ends, and then the next trigger triggers the function again, and this is how we make a divide by 3. But you can make a divide by 2, divide by 3, divide by 4, whatever number you want really. This patch is my interpretation of a suggestion made by Kinga, and the idea was to use the sine output of generate 3 as an audio source. Here it's going, I know it's hard to see with all these cables, but the sine or fundamental output of generate 3 is going into the wavefolder, and at least the sound we're listening to now is coming out of the main output of fold 6 and going straight into the mixer. And there's some delay on it. Let me turn down the delay. Maybe it was a little bit too much. I'm phase modulating generate 3 with the generate 3 next to it, and they're both receiving some kind of sequence coming from step 8. And then, because we have still 2 outputs left on generate 3, the one for the even harmonics and the one for the odd harmonics, you can use these to modulate other modules at audio rates. In this patch I'm using the even output to modulate the fold parameter on fold 6, and I'm using a unipolar saw wave. You can see the LED cable that's transmitting this saw wave LFO. I'm using this to modulate the level of the even harmonics, and this creates this kind of pattern. And then I'm using the alternative output here on fold 6 to route into filter 8, and we're listening to one of the outputs of filter 8 right now. And then I'm using the odd output that was still left on generate 3 to modulate the frequency of my filter at audio rates. Now this output, that's actually the sine output of generate 3 that's being phase modulated, wave folded, and then filtered with some audio rate modulation to the filter frequency and to the fold parameter. This output is going into a stereo input on the new Cosmix Pro mixer by Cosmotronic, and then by sending in a sample and hold LFO or stepped random LFO into the pan CV input, I'm able to create some stereo movement that way. When I now mix in the first output of fold 6, which isn't going through filter 8, sounds like this. There's some reverb on the output of filter 8, and let me bring back the delay on the first signal. And now it's some drums and the bass. And this will be it for this I'll make a video about it episode. I tried to write down every time that someone asked me to do a patch about something, but I'm sure I forgot a few suggestions. Anyway, I hope you liked this video with a few random patches that were suggested by viewers. And I hope my video inspires you to just try things out on your modular. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.